All right, so today we're going to dive into some pretty intense stuff, actually.
Sorry.
International relations and security. Specifically, we're looking at this European Defense Summit that happened in London.
Right.
And our main source for all this is this article. It's called Trudeau at European Defense Summit, Ukraine's Security and Shifting Alliances. So
Catchy title.
it is a catchy title, but this isn't just another news story. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like
High stakes.
high stakes, exactly.
Yeah. Big time diplomacy.
Diplomacy, power shifts,
Power shifts.
people.
Yeah, Ukraine's future hangs in the balance here.
Exactly. It's a big deal. So, all right, well, a dozen European leaders show up, right?
That's right.
Including our very own
Justin Trudeau?
Justin Trudeau.
Yeah.
And they're all there, and the main goal is to figure out, how do we make sure there's lasting peace in Ukraine?
Yeah, I mean, 3 years after the Russian invasion,
Right.
this is still very much top of mind.
Exactly. So what was it like there? I mean, was it all like,
Well, it was behind closed doors, so,
Oh, okay.
the reporters couldn't really get any inside scoop when the leaders first got there.
I see.
But Ralph Goodale, he's Canada's High Commissioner to the UK,
Right.
he did say that, they're really focused on long-term security guarantees that can make sure that the people of Ukraine can count on peace as their normal way of life.
Mm.
He said they shouldn't have to live under constant threat or constant oppression from an unreliable neighbor.
Right. But I mean, all this is happening in the shadow of some pretty major global shifts, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest is,
Yeah.
you got this whole thing with Ukraine and the United States.
Right. They're not exactly.
Not the best of friends.
Yeah.
Zelensky and Trump had this tense meeting right before the summit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, over this whole mineral deal.
Oh, tell me about that.
It's supposed to help end the war with Russia,
I see.
but it kind of fell apart.
So what happened?
Well, Zelensky wanted the U.S. to guarantee their security,
Makes sense.
and Trump was like, nope,
Not happening.
not my problem.
Wow.
Yeah. So that whole America first policy,
Right.
U.S. interests first and everyone else.
Yeah.
Or-
Can fend for themselves.
Exactly.
So,
It-
I mean, it's got to have other leaders wondering, like, okay, well, is the U.S. even committed to
Yeah.
Europe's security?
Where do they stand?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question.
So, okay, U.S. is taking a step back, right?
Seemingly.
Yeah. What about Canada?
Well, that's what everyone wants to know. Where do they fit in?
Right.
We talked to this professor, Stephen Seidman from Carleton University,
Okay.
and he says Canada's main goal at this summit is
Stay relevant.
to not be forgotten.
Stay
basically,
relevant, yeah.
as Europe is looking for other ways.
Protect themselves.
Yeah, without the U.S.
He actually said Canada's biggest interest is to be not forgotten.
He did, yeah. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
I mean, if you're a smaller player in all this, like Canada,
You can't.
you got to be strategic.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you're at the table, that your voice is heard.
Absolutely. So how are they doing that? What's the game plan?
Well, Seidman thinks that Trudeau's probably saying, hey, Europe, we got to stand up to Trump.
Stand up to Trump. Okay.
Yeah, all this stuff with the tariffs, the trade disputes.
Right.
Basically saying, we're all in this together.
I see.
Push back against this.
Yeah.
What some are calling economic bullying.
But isn't that kind of risky? I mean,
Yeah.
could that make things worse? Like, what if it turns into a...
Oh, full-blown trade war.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that.
Right.
But Canada's suggesting they coordinate a response.
Hmm.
Maybe even, hit back with their own tariffs.
Really?
It's a possibility.
It's getting complicated.
Oh, it's a tangled web, that's for sure. It makes you think, what if your country was in this position? How would you navigate this?
What would you even do?
Yeah.
It seems like the old way of doing things
Yeah.
with alliances based on,
Just security.
Right. That's not enough anymore.
It might be changing. We might see these new partnerships popping up.
Big
It's on
shared economic interest.
Exactly.
Interesting.
It's a whole new world out there. And this summit, with everything going on in Ukraine,
Yeah.
it's at the center of it all.
Wow.
Yeah. This isn't just about military power anymore.
Yeah.
This is about the economy, strategic alliances, and trying to figure out how to make sense of it all.
In a world that feels
It's changing
like it's changing really fast.
every single day.
Yeah. We've been talking about, these alliances changing and economic pressures and all that.
Right.
But we can't forget about
The reason everyone's there.
Ukraine.
Yeah.
They're the ones stuck in the middle of all this.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
It's easy to get lost in all the global politics stuff.
Right.
But you got to remember, this is about real people.
real people's lives.
In Ukraine.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is affecting them directly.
So beyond just saying, oh, we support you,
Yeah.
what are they actually going to do?
Right. What are the concrete actions?
Yeah.
Well, one idea that came up was using those frozen Russian assets, the ones held in Europe.
Oh.
Use those to help Ukraine rebuild.
So basically, take their money
And use it against them.
Yeah.
It's a bold move.
Yeah, it would definitely
Send a message.
It would.
And it could provide, some much-needed financial resources for Ukraine. There was also talk about, bringing Ukraine closer to Europe.
Closer to Europe. Okay.
Yeah, like maybe easing up on trade barriers,
see.
strengthening political ties, and even, down the line,
Yeah.
considering EU membership.
The EU membership. Wow.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Not only, would it help them economically,
Right.
but it sends a really strong message to Russia. Like, hey, Ukraine's got the backing of a major global power.
I mean, that would be huge.
Yeah.
But, I mean, let's be real. Getting into the EU,
Oh, it's a long process.
that's not going to happen overnight.
It's complex.
No.
It's not like flipping a switch.
Right.
But the fact that they're even considering it
Yeah.
shows how seriously they're taking all this.
So it sounds like they're thinking long term,
Absolutely.
not just like quick fixes.
Yeah, no Band-Aid solutions here.
So we have these big ideas.
Right.
But, how do we actually make them happen?
Good question. That's always the tricky part, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to say all this stuff at a summit.
Right. Make promises.
Yeah, make declarations.
But actually putting it into practice.
It's a whole other challenge.
It is.
There's going to be political hurdles,
Right.
logistical stuff to figure out,
I see.
and who knows, maybe even pushback from Russia.
So you're saying there's a chance this whole summit could just be.
A lot of talk
Yeah.
and no action.
Yeah.
It's possible. Right. But you got to remember, these meetings, they're often just the first step.
Okay.
This is just the beginning.
The beginning, yeah.
Yeah, it sets the stage for more talks, agreements, concrete action down the road.
So it's more about like.
Building momentum,
Yeah.
getting everyone on the same page,
Okay.
and creating a framework for cooperation.
So we shouldn't expect everything to change like.
Overnight.
Yeah.
No.
But there's always that feeling,
Oh, yeah.
like what if all these plans just get stuck?
Yeah. Bogged down in bureaucracy.
Yeah, or political infighting.
It's a valid concern
It is.
and something we got to watch out for.
Yeah.
There's going to be challenges along the way.
Right.
Setbacks, for sure.
But did you get the sense that, people are serious about this?
I did. I mean, what really struck me was the urgency. There's this genuine desire to fix this.
Fix the situation in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So you're feeling, what, cautiously optimistic?
I think so, yeah. I mean, the summit definitely brought all the issues to the forefront,
Right.
but it also got people talking.
Talking. Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels like things are moving in the right direction.
Okay, so we talked about what this means for Ukraine, for the whole global landscape.
Yeah.
But what about, for our listener?
Right, what does this mean for them?
Yeah, why should they care?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that the world's getting more and more complex.
Complex, yeah.
And everything's connected.
Connected, right.
What happens on one side of the world can affect us all.
So this isn't just some, far-off thing.
No, not at all.
That doesn't concern us.
It can affect trade.
Yeah, kind.
Even our personal freedoms.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we need to
Pay attention.
stay informed.
Yeah, go beyond the headlines.
Right.
Really understand what's going on.
Because it matters.
It does.
Yeah. And speaking of understanding what's going on,
Yeah.
let's talk about Canada again for a second. We were talking about, them wanting to stay relevant.
Yeah, on the world stage.
Right. Professor Seidemann, he had an interesting suggestion.
Oh, yeah. He mentioned that maybe Canada should rethink buying those F-35.
The fighter jets.
Yeah, from the U.S.
Right.
And instead, look at some European options.
Like the Eurofighter.
Exactly.
That's a pretty bold move.
It is, yeah.
I mean, ditching a major U.S. defense contract.
It would definitely make a statement.
It would.
And it would probably cause some problems, too.
Yeah, like what?
Legal battles over contracts, that kind of thing.
Oh, I see.
But his point is, we got to rethink things.
Rethink how we do things.
Yeah, be open to new possibilities.
He actually said, we're in a moment where we need some imagination about possibilities.
He did.
It's kind of inspiring,
Yeah.
even if it's a little scary,
Yeah.
But what would that even say about Canada's relationship with the U.S.?
Well, it would definitely raise some eyebrows in Washington.
Yeah, I bet.
It would mean that Canada's serious about being more independent,
Hmm.
putting their own interests first.
Even if it means, going against their ally.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And remember, this is bigger than just fighter jets.
Right. It's about whole picture.
Shifting alliances, economic pressure,
Global security, the whole thing.
the whole thing. It's like
Yeah.
everything's changing.
It is.
And we need to change with it.
We got to adapt.
Our thinking, our strategies.
Everything.
So are you saying that, like, we can't assume those old alliances are going to last?
I think that's right. We're in a new era.
New rules.
Yeah, the rules are changing.
Yeah.
And to figure out this new world,
We need to
stay informed
be engaged.
and be ready to challenge how we've always done things.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, right? I mean, we started with this defense summit,
Yeah.
and it's really shown how much the world's changing.
It really have.
All these old alliances.
Getting tested.
Yeah, and it feels like
Yeah.
the balance of power.
Shifting.
Yeah, right in front of us.
It is. It's happening right now.
It makes you wonder, like, what happens next?
Right.
I mean, if the U.S. really does step back.
Yeah. Who fills that gap?
Yeah, who steps up?
Is it one country?
Or is it more like
Multiple?
Yeah.
Different powers.
a multipolar world?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Ooh, that's the million-dollar question.
It is.
I mean, you've got experts debating this left and right.
Yeah.
Some people think, we'll see regional powers rise up.
Like who?
China, Russia, India.
Taking a more dominant role.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
But wouldn't that be, like, kind of dangerous?
Oh, potentially.
More competition.
More competition, more conflict, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Mm-hmm.
A world with multiple power centers, it might be more balanced in a way,
Okay.
but it could also be way more unpredictable.
Right.
Volatile.
Yeah, because then you've got all these different players.
Yeah.
All wanting more influence.
Yeah, right.
And that could lead to alliances changing all the time.
Yeah, constantly in flux.
Wow. And what happens to organizations like NATO in a world like that?
Right, that's a good question.
If the U.S. isn't as committed to,
Collective defense?
yeah, does NATO even matter anymore?
Some people say that NATO's going to have to adapt.
Yeah.
Figure out new ways to keep things stable without the U.S.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe they'll, partner up with other countries.
Yeah, like-minded countries.
No, maybe.
They have to completely change their mission.
Wow. So for our listener, I mean, what's the main thing to take away from all this?
Well, I think it's that we're in a time of major change.
Major change.
The way the world works, the way it's always worked.
Right.
It's being challenged.
And we don't know what's coming next.
Yeah, the future's uncertain.
It is.
Yeah.
So we need to
Pay attention.
Yeah.
Think critically.
About what it all means.
For our countries. For everyone, yeah.
It's not just about the big picture either, is it?
Not at all.
It's about, understanding
how this affects us all.
Yeah.
These global events, they have real consequences.
Yeah.
They can affect trade, the economy.
Our security.
Our freedoms.
Wow. So as we wrap this up,
Yeah.
what's one final thought you want to leave everyone with?
Just remember, this isn't something happening over there somewhere.
Yeah.
This is happening now.
Right.
Right now.
Yeah.
It's shaping the world we live in.
Right.
As we speak.
The future's being written.
Right now.
Yeah.
And we're all part of it.
We all have a role to play.
Through our actions, our choices, even the conversations we have.
That's a powerful message. Thank you for walking us through all this.
It's been my pleasure.
Okay.
And to everyone listening, keep asking questions, stay engaged, and don't ever think you can't make a difference.
It's been quite a journey.
It has.
We started with this defense summit.
Yeah.
And we ended up talking about shifting alliances.
Economic power.
Global security. I mean, wow.
The whole world's changing.
It is. And the big question is,
what comes next?
Yeah, if the old way of doing things is gone.
What takes its place? What role are we all going to play?
In building a better world.
A more peaceful world.
A more sustainable world.
It's up to all of us.
It is. It's a lot to think about.
It is.
But it's worth thinking about.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.